Hi guys. This feels so weird. It has been so long since I have even sat down to make a video. It's me. And as you can tell by the title, life has been crazy, to say the least. I'm currently pregnant again, baby number 2. Super exciting. This pregnancy has already just been like such a whirlwind. I'm going to turn off the dryer really fast because that sound's gonna drive me crazy. Please hold. First, I'll give like the boring life updates. Honestly, there's not that much. Henry is, by the time you're seeing this, he's 16 months old, which is wild. Like once he just hit that age where like you can do stuff with him, like he can eat with us, like when we go out to restaurants, like he just feels like an actual like person, not just like a thing that you gotta take care of, you know what I mean? You guys will see him in one of the next videos. It's currently 10 p.m. and he's been asleep for like 2 hours already. He is so active and he talks a lot, not like actual like talking, you know what I mean? So filming while he's awake is impossible unless you guys want to hear the crazy baby sounds in the background. He's doing really well, very healthy, no complaints there. And as far as work goes, I'm still doing the same job. Nothing's changed there. I don't know the last update I gave you guys in regards to like Peter's job, but he is working for his brother, which is the same, like we work together now, and that's been pretty cool. We're still living in the same house. If you guys are new watching this video, we bought a house when I was 32 weeks pregnant or 33 weeks pregnant, and that was insane, and I hope that doesn't happen again this time. Yeah, the big update that all of you guys are here for is that I'm pregnant again. Alright, so to bring it back, I found out I was pregnant on July 12th, and we were not trying to get pregnant. Peter, I had told him, I'm honestly ready to start trying for baby number 2 whenever you are. I didn't want Henry to be an only child, and I also didn't want there to be a huge age gap, so I'm super happy with being pregnant right now. I think it's going to be the perfect age gap. They're going to be 22 months apart. And Peter, he just kept saying like he wasn't ready yet, and I totally respected that. I did bug him a lot about it though, because once you get that baby fever, it's just like, it just doesn't go away. It just doesn't. Then there was just like a random period of time where Peter, like, he never officially told me he was ready to start trying, but we tried. I'm just gonna leave it at that, PG-13. It wasn't planned, like I said. We weren't, it just like happened, and I was like, there's no way I'm gonna get pregnant off of one time of trying without using protection. Like, there's no way. And sure enough, here I am. So it was honestly like a really big surprise. I was shocked. I took the pregnancy test in a Target bathroom. So the story behind this, I was helping my sister-in-law, I was helping my brother-in-law and his wife move. And I was helping them pack. I was going to their house every day, helping them get stuff, packed up and ready to go. And so literally, like, I would wake up, feed Henry breakfast, we would get ready for the day and just head over there and be there all day until like dinner time. And so I really, like, I didn't have time to like take a pregnancy test at home and like plan out. I mean, I could have made the time, but I'm just impatient. And I had no reason to think I was pregnant. I hadn't missed my period. I didn't have any pregnancy symptoms. I was getting coffee and I was like, oh, I better check. Like, I'm right here across the street from Target. I better check and see if she needs anything. And so I texted her and she's like, oh yeah, actually, can you grab me this? And so I went inside and I just walked straight to the pregnancy test, picked one up, paid for it at the pharmacy, went into the bathroom right next to the pharmacy, and I took the test, and that's where this video comes from. So you can see on my face, I was so shocked. Like, I was in disbelief. I was not expecting it to say pregnant at all. And so I left Target, didn't get my sister-in-law what she needed. And me and my sister-in-law, so I say sister-in-law, but she's not technically my sister-in-law. It's my brother-in-law's wife, but I just feel weird saying that. I'm gonna call her Samantha because that's her name. We're super close, and a long time ago, I asked Peter, I was like, if I get pregnant again, would you be mad if I told Sam before I told you? He's like, I don't care. No. So with that in the back of my mind, also, it is impossible for us to keep secrets from each other. Literally impossible. I drove to her house from Target, which is like a 5-minute drive. And I immediately told her. I might make a video, like a whole separate video of putting all of my family's reactions together. So you have to stay tuned for that. But I told her, and I didn't tell her we were trying, so she was like in complete shock too. She helped me figure out a really cute way to tell Peter, and we literally drove to his job site together. She stayed in the car, I got out, and I did my little thing, and I showed him, and he was also super surprised. He really, like, in the moment, all he kept saying was like, oh crap. Oh, wow. Like, he was just like in complete shock. That's the general theme here. Then we told my brother-in-law, David, who is Samantha's husband, and he was super excited as well. The next people we told were my parents. We had them over for dinner. I told them in a super cute way. Again, nobody knew. We weren't trying, so we didn't tell anyone. So no one was expecting it. So they were super surprised. Obviously very excited. And then after that, we just kind of told everyone. We didn't wait this time. I told everyone when I was like 4 or 5 weeks pregnant, and then I actually announced it on social media when I was 6 weeks pregnant. So then everything was pretty smooth sailing. I did my HCG labs. All of my labs were going great. So I stopped doing those pretty early because they just brought a lot of anxiety, like waiting for the labs to come back was terrible. We did one early ultrasound just to make sure that the pregnancy was in my uterus, not in my other fallopian tube, and everything was good there. So everything from a very early point was going like smooth. It was great. I started to get morning sickness at 5 weeks pregnant, and it hasn't stopped. I'm currently 14 weeks and 5 days. And I still have terrible nausea. And then I'm just gonna skip to the good part. Fast forward to August 6th. So I was 8 weeks pregnant at this time. I woke up, it was like 2 a.m. maybe. All throughout the night, I had this like terrible urge to pee, and I kept getting up to pee, and like drops, like nothing would come out. And so I was like, great, I'm probably getting a UTI. This is fantastic. But I was like, whatever, I'll just wait till the morning. I will give my OB a call. And then just out of absolutely nowhere, I started to get this excruciating pain on my right side. And I was like, ooh, that doesn't feel very good. I don't know what that is. And it pretty quickly got like really bad. So I woke Peter up again. It was like 2:30 a.m. at this point. I was like, I think something's wrong. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, I'm in so much pain right now. Something's wrong. Like, I need to go to the ER. I just had Peter drop me off at the ER instead of staying, just because Henry, you know. So they came back home, and I stayed, and they got me back pretty quickly. There wasn't really anyone there, but they also saw how much pain I was in, and being pregnant, that's like an extra, you know, cautious thing that they have to pay attention to. They did some labs, and I handle pain very well, so like I don't think they were taking me super serious at first, but then I threw up because of how much pain I was in. They were like, oh, did you throw up? Like, you probably just threw up because like you're pregnant. I was like, no. Up until that point, I had not thrown up at all, like from my morning sickness. So I told them, like, I'm throwing up because I'm in so much pain. And they're like, oh. And then after I threw up, something about that movement or whatever made the pain. I was already at like a solid 8, but that took me up to a 10 or even higher. I was literally grasping onto the side of the bed, crying, like, oh, like making weird noises. Like, I was in so much pain. And also, side note, unfortunately, since I was pregnant, there was very few pain medications that they could give me. Morphine does not work on me. They tried it then. I felt absolutely no relief at all. But the only medicine that ended up helping me was fentanyl, which is like very intense pain meds. And it only lasted like maybe 45 minutes. The relief from fentanyl only lasted like 45 minutes. And you could only get it every 2 hours. So like for an hour and a half, I was in excruciating pain. And then for like 30 minutes, I was like in like not as much pain. But then they finally had someone come in to do an ultrasound. They told me like it's either kidney stones or appendicitis, one of those two. And we're going to start with an ultrasound because that's less invasive. So we got lucky. They did the ultrasound and they found a kidney stone. And the nurse I had came in and he's like, you have a giant but he didn't say but, he said the bad word, kidney stone. And he just like looked at me like he was like shocked. And he's like, it's way too big for you to pass on your own, so we're gonna get you scheduled for surgery. And I was like, what the heck? Oh my gosh. Kidney stones aren't like an urgent thing, so like I wasn't rushed to surgery or anything. They moved me to like a regular room. They admitted me into the hospital, and I had to wait until 2 p.m. to get the surgery. And the nurse I had, he tried to switch up my pain medicine to something that I hadn't had the entire time. And I was like, what is that? And he's like, it's blah, blah, blah. I don't even remember what it was. And I was like, I haven't had that this whole time. And he's like, oh, we're just gonna try something different. I was like, is that safe for pregnancy? I am quoting his words. He said, I think so. My ex-wife took this when she was pregnant, so I think it's safe. And I was like, listen here, Johnny boy. That's not gonna work. I didn't say that, but I was like, no, can you please just stick to giving me the fentanyl, or like if I can't get the fentanyl, whatever, but I'm not, like, I need you to check if that's safe for me to take, or don't give it to me at all. And he like looked at me and he's like, okay. And I was like, okay, bye-bye. And like every time he came in the room, I just like, he would say something and I was like, if I could get out of this bed, I would slap you. I'm not kidding. And then Peter came in. I think he came around like 8 a.m. And the game plan, all I knew was that I was getting surgery. I didn't know what type of surgery or like what that meant. I had no idea. And I also, when Peter got there, they still had not given me pain meds. It had been probably like 2 hours at that point since I had pain meds. And when Peter came in, he like saw how much pain I was in, and I told him like what happened, what the nurse said about his ex-wife, and he literally left the room, came back a few minutes later, and he was like, your pain meds are on the way. And sure enough, like 5 minutes later, Johnny boy comes back in with fentanyl, pumps it into my IV, and it gives me a little bit of relief. And I tried to ask him, I was like, so what does surgery mean for kidney stones? And he's like, well, there's a few different methods, or I don't know the right word, if I'm using the right word. He's like, they won't really know till they get in there. I was like, what does that mean, till they get in there? Like, do they have to cut my stomach open? Is this like one of those camera ones? Like, what do they have to do? He's like, I'm not really sure. And I was like, okay, is this surgery safe for pregnancy? Like, what are the risks to me being pregnant? And he's like, I'm not really sure. Like, I could Google it for you. And I was like, can you please just get a nurse who can answer my questions? If I wanted to Google something, I could do that myself. And he could like tell, he's like, okay, I can see you're getting frustrated. I'm gonna go get a different nurse. And I was like, thank you. I was like, I know I could have been nicer, but in the moment, again, kidney stone, in so much pain, and I had been awake since, I really didn't sleep that night because of like the getting up to pee so often. So I was just like, my patience level was already at like a 2, and then I get this nurse who is like telling me he's gonna Google stuff for me, you know what I mean? And so a different nurse comes in, answers all my questions without hesitation, and she tells me there's 2 different methods that they do. One, if the kidney stone is small enough, they'll just go in, open up your ureter, and just like help it come out. Or if it's too big, they'll laser it, which breaks it into a bunch of little pieces, and they'll scoop the pieces out. And then she said also another thing that might happen is they'll leave a stent in so that your ureter can stay open to help you pass the gravel, they call it gravel, if they had to laser the stone. And she told me that the risks with pregnancy, I guess kidney stones are super common in pregnancy, and there was no like huge risk. Obviously there's a risk with any surgery, but she wasn't concerned, so that really helped me and Peter calm down. And that Johnny boy nurse did not come back into my room at all for the rest of the time I stayed, which was very nice. So anyways, I got the surgery. My kidney stone was 1.2 centimeters. Yeah, 1.2 centimeters big. I guess the surgeon just kept saying, like, this is like, for this being your first one, this is pretty big. And I was like, thank you. Also, because I was pregnant, the anesthesiologist told me that because it wasn't like an actual like cutting me open surgery, he would just do a spinal on me and I could stay awake during the surgery, and the spinal was safer than general anesthesia for pregnancy. So I was like, whatever I have to do, that's fine. So I literally stayed awake during the surgery. I watched the whole thing on the screen. He showed me the kidney stone, the pieces when he took it out, which was pretty cool. They put a stent in. After the surgery, I had no pain. I felt really good. Like, I went home the same day. The only issue I had was the spinal took forever to wear off. So I couldn't pee on my own for a super long time. So I think I got home, maybe it was like 11 p.m. I honestly don't remember, but my dad, Peter was here at home with Henry, so my dad took me home, and I went to bed, woke up the next morning feeling completely normal. You would think the story's over there, but it's not, okay? It's not. So the plan was to keep the stent in for 4 to 5 days, and then everything like should be, you know, like done with. So I got the stent put in on a Saturday, and so I got it taken out on a Thursday. Yeah, on Thursday. So I had it for 4 full days, like 4.5 days pretty much. I got it taken out on Thursday, like afternoon. And then, so Thursday night was fine. I didn't even, like, they told me I would probably get like some cramping or maybe like some spotting. I didn't have anything. And then Friday morning, I woke up, I think it was like 7 a.m. I honestly don't remember like what time it was. But I started to get the same exact pain that I had before. So I told Peter, I was like, dude, I think I have another kidney stone. And he's like, you're kidding me. I was like, I'm not kidding. And so we tried calling the urologist to like tell them what was happening, what I was feeling. And they were like, it's pretty normal that you'll have some discomfort after we take the stent out. I was like, this isn't discomfort. I'm telling you, it feels like I have another kidney stone, like I'm in a lot of pain. And they're like, yeah, that's probably normal. And I was like, okay, whatever. And so I just tried to like work through the pain, but I just couldn't. I was like, I need to go back to the ER. We went to the ER. Peter stayed with me this time because it was during the day. And we had, I don't remember who we had, but someone was watching Henry. And sure enough, they checked me in. It took a lot longer this time because there was a lot of people there, which was very unfortunate. But all the same nurses were there. So like well, I had a different ER nurse, but the doctor who was there, she like walked in with like this sad look on her face. She's like, you're back? She's like, do you remember me? I was like, no, I don't remember. I'm really sorry, I don't remember you. She's like, I don't blame you. She's like, it sounds like you have another kidney stone. We're gonna do an ultrasound and just see what's going on. And sure enough, she did the ultrasound and I had another kidney stone, but this time it was only 0.4 millimeters. And so the theory it's not a theory, it's very likely that what happened was they took the stent out too early and not all of the gravel, they call it, from them lasering the big kidney stone up had come out. She's like, we're gonna give you 24 hours and see if you can just pass it on your own so we don't have to do another surgery. For some reason, I was in the same amount of pain that time as I was before, even though the kidney stone was like a third of the size as it was before. So that was weird, but I later found out why. So they admitted me. Johnny Boy, the girl nurse, was on call, was there again, but he didn't step foot in my room one time. They always had a different nurse come in. I'm glad though. I just don't think we were meant to interact with each other. So they kept me on a ton on IV fluids. I was trying to drink a ton of water, but when you're in a lot of pain, like water is the last thing on your mind. They told me I had 24 hours to pass it, but they told me at midnight I had to stop drinking and eating just in case I had to get surgery. I wish I would have just pushed to get the surgery like the first day because you need a lot of fluids to pass the kidney stone. And me not like drinking water after midnight like that, it just didn't do anything. So, you know, they just kept me pumped up. This time they gave me hydrocodone, which like helped take the edge off enough to where I didn't need like fentanyl, which was great. So I did the surgery. This time I still had a spinal. They didn't put me under general anesthesia, but this time they gave me like a sedative. So I was like kind of loopy. I wasn't like fully awake for the whole thing, which was good because like you see one kidney stone get taken out, you don't need to see another. And this time I asked if I could get a catheter put in because of how long the spinal took to wear off last time. And it's crazy how like God is just in the details of all of this. Like looking back, that was my main reason for getting the catheter, but if I would have known what my next 24 hours held, like I'm so glad I had the catheter. Oh my gosh. So I got out of surgery. He said everything was fine. He said that my ureter was super inflamed. So he's like, I'm not surprised that you weren't able to pass the kidney stone because like there was no way it was coming out. And then he also said that when he took the stone out, I had a really bad infection, like a UTI, which would explain why I was in the same amount of pain that time as I was before because of the UTI and the inflammation and the kidney stone. I was like, great, that's fine. They gave me antibiotics for the UTI, and usually that's like a one-time thing and then it goes away. So I thought again I was in the clear. The moral of the story is that I'm never in the clear, okay? So they put me back in my room. At this point it was probably like 2 or 3 p.m. And as the spinal was wearing off, I was still in a lot of pain. And the more that the spinal wore off, the more pain I was in. And I kept telling the nurses, like, I'm in a lot of pain. Like, I feel worse than I did before I got the kidney stone taken out. And so at this point, I was asking for the fentanyl again. I was like, this hydrocodone isn't doing crap for me. Like, I need something stronger. They told me that, like, it was expected for me to be in a lot of pain because of the UTI. And then the fact that my ureter was already really inflamed. And then, like, he was in there, like, irritating it, so now it was even more inflamed, but I had to stint in again. So anyways, they kept me overnight because I was in so much pain. And so the next day, at this point it's Sunday, and I went in on Friday, and I was just like so over being there. I was like, I would rather be in this much pain at home. Like, I just don't want to be here anymore. So I just told them that my pain was like going down. I was starting to feel better, even though I really wasn't. But then I actually, like, genuinely, like, the pain did start to go down a little bit. So they stopped giving me fentanyl and they gave me the hydrocodone again. And that helped take the edge off enough to where I was like, I just want to go home. And of course, like, right before they were getting ready to discharge me, one of the doctors comes in and they're like, so, well, we did your repeat labs. It looks like your UTI is actually getting worse. And so we sent it down to get a culture on it. And you have a very random strain of infection. And the antibiotics we gave you are not going to help. And we're going to have to call infectious disease control. And I was like, what? Like, you're kidding me. So just when you think a bad situation couldn't get worse, I now have to stay at the hospital longer until they can figure out what antibiotic they can give me that will help with this random infection. So this really nice doctor comes in from infectious disease control, and he was like, so unfortunately, the infection you have, we don't have any pill forms that are safe for pregnancy, so we have to give you an IV. So we're going to have you come into my office every single day for 2 weeks to get an IV for your UTI. And I was like, amazing. Why not? Yeah, let's do this. So I got discharged that day. I got home like around dinner time. I was still in so much pain. And then the next morning I had to go to this, I'm going to call it IDC now because I don't want to keep saying that, Infectious Disease Control. I went into their office and they poked me 3 different times to try to get an IV like started. And I just started crying because like it didn't hurt, but I was just like so over everything. Like I just told Piers, like, I can't handle anything else. Like, of course I would get kidney stones twice. Of course I would get this random infection, and of course they can't get the IV. They have to poke me 3 times. Like, it was just all of these things stacking on top of another. I just like couldn't handle it. I literally just started crying, and I could tell those poor nurses, they felt so bad. So they eventually got the IV in, and they're like, so unfortunately, like, we can leave the IV in, but we can only leave it in for 3 days at a time. So like you have to come in every day, but we're gonna have to switch out your IV every 3 days. And I was like, of course, amazing. So I did the IV first day, I went in the second day, and then on the 3rd day, I remembered that the IDC doctor who saw me on Sunday told me that getting something called a midline was possible, where it's kind of like a PICC line, but it's not as, like, the PICC line is like closer to your heart. The midline they put in your arm, but it's like the same idea where it's like semi-permanent, like you can keep it in for a really long time, and they just like hook into it. And so I asked them, like, can I get one of those installed? Like, first of all, the IV where they put it was super painful. Also, I have a baby, so like it just was like, I was like, this isn't gonna work for me. Peter and Henry both came with me to the hospital to get the midline. And then when the nurse came out, she's like, oh, we're going to like an operating room. Like, this, it has to stay completely sterile, so like you can't have anyone with you. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, what is, like, oh my gosh. I didn't think it was like gonna be that serious. She takes me back, we go to like the surgical floor. She takes me into an operating room, and she like I have to put on like the little cap thing. She gets all gowned up. She sanitizes everything, gets all of her stuff laid out, and she like, it was a big deal. So I didn't realize it until I saw them take the midline out, and I was like, that whole thing was in my arm. Like, it was intense. I think I saw the picture. I'll put a picture up here what it looked like. So then, because I had the midline, when I went back to the IDC place, they gave me the supplies to do my IV at home. So I didn't have to go into the office every day. I was able to sit at home. The medicine made me incredibly nauseous, which was great because I was already, this happened during during week 9, which is like, at the time, that was like the worst my nausea had ever been. So then I was also getting this IV medicine that made my nausea even worse. So what I did is I would give myself the IV right before bed, and I would just like sleep through it, which helped a little bit. And then I got the thing taken out, and like the tube that they took out, I'm not being dramatic, was like this long. Like when she took it out, she just kept pulling and pulling and pulling, and I was like, when are you gonna stop? The site got infected, of course, because I can't just have like a simple wrap up to a crazy situation. But it's finally healed. I do have a scar. I scar super easily. You probably can't see it at all because of my tattoo, but it was right here. So that is all in the past, and I hope that never happens again. So yeah, that was my first 9 weeks of pregnancy, 2 surgeries, 2 kidney stones, fancy midline, 2 weeks of antibiotics. Crazy, crazy, crazy. But since then, everything has been pretty smooth. I know this video is already super long. I have just one more thing to tell you guys about like what provider we chose, which is like kind of boring if you guys don't want to listen to that part. So I'll just kind of like speed through it. I really wanted to do like a natural, unmedicated, super peaceful birth this time. So we chose to do the birth center here in town, which is like a standalone, like it's their own office. We did a tour there, we loved it. So we decided to go that route. And then for first time unmedicated births, you have to have, like they have a bunch of different requirements. And long story short, the cost of like meeting our deductible for this year, also since I'm due in March, my deductible obviously restarts in January. So we would have to pay our full deductible again, plus paying for all of the requirements that they have. It would have equaled like $9,000. Which I just like, I love the birth center, but not that much. So then I looked into a different OB. I called them. I called her. She wasn't taking new patients, so I called a different one. She also wasn't taking new patients. So then I just ended up calling my old OB, who I loved. Like, I had nothing wrong with her. I just felt like she wasn't super, not like, I feel like supportive isn't the right word. But when I told her I wanted to have like an unmedicated labor, she's like, cool. And I was hoping to find an OB who was like more like, great, here are some things you can do, or like just more supportive. I guess you could say that's the right word. But I love her. Peter is super comfortable with her as well, which I think is really nice, just because we have a lot of trauma and anxiety around pregnancy and labor and delivery with everything that happened in the past. So just going into a situation that we already know is going to be a big piece of like comfort. So I think it'll be good. And ultimately, we ended up where I think God wants us to be because of how everything worked out. I had my last appointment when I was 12 weeks pregnant, and I won't have another one until I'm 20 weeks pregnant because I waited so long to go back to my old OB. She's booked out until the middle of November. We are doing a gender reveal party on October 1st, and I'm sure I will record it. I say that, but I also have really sucked at recording anything this pregnancy, so maybe I won't, I don't know. But once we find out the gender, I'll tell you guys somehow. And I think that is it. That's a lot. I say that's it, like I didn't talk for like 45 minutes. But I think I've caught you guys up to everything so far. So hopefully now that I've started, I will remember to vlog and I'll be more motivated. Just a short little thing, just a disclaimer. I actually had a whole video filmed about like telling you guys that I'm done with YouTube, just because I just don't have time for it. The whole filming, the editing, the uploading, it just doesn't fit into my schedule right now. I literally said in that video that the only way I would come back to YouTube was when I was pregnant, and I would only do it while I'm pregnant, and that's still the case. So I'm here really honestly just to document my pregnancy and labor and delivery like I did with Henry. Honestly, I'm like, YouTube for me right now is just gonna be like a time capsule, just like a fun way to keep memories, you know, stored. But it's just an added bonus that I have all of you guys to share it with. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment them down below. I will respond to all of you guys. I'll see if I can do a bump day. This is what I look like when I was like 20 weeks pregnant, I think. But the baby is the size of an orange this week, I think. And the last ultrasound, we just did an ultrasound for the gender, like to find out the gender. And the baby, like, she had the wand down here the whole time. So I know, like, this is baby. And I mean, I can't, like, that's like as much as I can suck it in. Like, I know, like, it's bump time. Thank you guys for watching. If any of you like actually watched that whole video, like, shout out to you. My next video will be a lot shorter, I promise. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and make sure you're subscribed if you want to follow along this pregnancy journey with me. I'm gonna try to recreate or like copy a lot of the videos I did with Henry, just so I have them to compare. My mom did also sign me up for another like pregnancy box, but I don't think I'm gonna do that on YouTube. I'm gonna do that on my Instagram. And again, like I said, if you guys want to like actually stay updated with my life, follow me on Instagram, because I post on there a lot. And there's a lot more updated pictures of Henry, so you have that to look forward to. And yeah, I think that's it. I'm so out of breath and I need to go to bed. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to bed. Thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you when I see you.